Hey guys, Ryan here. So today is going to be probably the most controversial I've ever done on my channel. It's going to be The Walking Dead versus Game of Thrones. Now, if you have a different opinion than me or somebody else in the comments, please be respectful. If you have any sort of idea that you want to, or something that you want to say that is somewhat toxic or disrespectful, just move on. Because remember, at the end of the day, these are literally just TV shows, and this video is not that big of a deal to start an argument in the comments to where I have to delete your comments or block you from the channel because you're just so disrespectful about a TV show. So, I'm just going to get this right out of the way. The Walking Dead is better, in my opinion, than Game of Thrones. Now, you may disagree. You may feel way more connected to the Game of Thrones characters than I do. I personally love the show. It's my third favorite show. I just didn't feel that connected to any of the characters. Especially when it comes to Walking Dead. Every single character I feel so connected to, even the villains. And that's how you know it's good writing. Now, George R.R. Martin has not finished his books, but from what it seems like it's going towards, or I haven't even finished reading them, I'm on the first one still, but what they did in the show, the Night King is a villain who is literally, you can't somehow connect with them because he doesn't speak. He's never said one word. He's literally just stood there and killed people. You can't feel connected to a villain like that. That's why I feel like he's not a good villain. Because it's a villain that is the biggest villain of the series, and yet he has no actual motive that you know of, except for the fact that Bran somehow knows that he wants to erase the world's memory, and Bran is that. So he wants to kill Bran. Okay. I guess that makes sense because Bran could see inside of his head, but at the same time, it would be a lot cooler if somehow the Night King could communicate that in some way, shape, or form. Like, maybe those designs that they set up in the first episode actually meant something, or Arya's seasons of training meant something in the final season, or Daenerys' 8 seasons of not wanting to become the Mad Queen like her father or her brother just all of a sudden changed in the second to last episode when she just killed all these children and people, and Jaime, this whole payoff of him not being the bad guy that he seemed to be in the first season, where he shoved Bran out the tower, and and then he's with Bran, and then all of a sudden he goes back to Cersei and he's just the same guy that he was. All that character development, Jaime leaving was for shock value. Daenerys leaving was for shock value. Or not Daenerys leaving, Daenerys going crazy was for shock value. And it's bad. It's bad writing, because when it comes to the final season, you want to have twists and turns, but you also want it to be a twist and turn that's been building up. Not something that you just bring out of nowhere that she's crazy after her whole journey has been to not be crazy. And obviously Walking Dead has done some stuff for shock value, but it hasn't been where they ruin an entire character. Like Carl, his death, it was, I would say, I guess, for shock value, but it played a part in the story. Even though he didn't need to die for this to go through in the story, it still actually meant something when Rick kept Negan alive. So, as much as you want to argue that Carl shouldn't have died, it didn't, it played a part to where the stuff in Game of Thrones didn't. Daenerys did not need to be the way that she was. Jaime did not need to be the way he was. He easily could have killed Cersei, and that would have made his character amazing. Daenerys easily could have just stayed who she was, or maybe in the end just not wanted the throne anymore after all that. It would have felt pointless. So it's what can you actually do with her character? You don't need to make her go mad, you just need to make her, actually have a story. She can win the Iron Throne by not killing everybody. She can still win it, but it can be in a different way than how they did it. Again, if you watch any of the videos, you can go up and look why David and Dan are bad writers, and you will just 100%, it'll prove to you. The Walking Dead has had some rocky seasons, in some people's opinions. I have no problem with any season of The Walking Dead, because I just don't. I personally don't find it to where it's everybody hated on season 7 and 8. I don't have a problem with them. I rewatched it, and I found myself still interested. I'm not just being biased, I'm being honest. I went back and I rewatched those seasons, and I just, it didn't feel like it was horrible, like everybody makes it out to seem. It didn't feel the same as the first few seasons, but it didn't feel so different that it was bad. I didn't have a problem with them. I still don't have a problem with them, but I still have a problem with the final 2 seasons because after they ran out of original material, they went in one season and then they just started shortening them and shortening them. And you can't have a final season be 6 episodes and take out the Night King and Cersei and wrap up every other story that has been leading since, however long it's been going. 8 seasons, 6 seasons, 2 seasons. Payoff is needed, but you can't just all of a sudden wrap it up in 6 episodes and not have people feel that it's rushed when you have 2 huge villains that are just taken out 2 episodes apart. That feels so rushed to where where the Night King should not have been taken out in the 3rd episode. No question about that. He should have had some more to do that they easily could have done. It was so easy to just have something more happen. They easily could have extended the season with it being the final season and all these things still going on. You didn't need to shorten them. That's why I feel like one of the flaws of the final season was because it was so rushed that you just could tell that it just felt like they didn't care anymore. Like there weren't any actual twists and turns that made sense for the story that really just made it good. Like good TV. I don't know. There's gonna be people out there that highly disagree, and you're definitely welcome to your own opinion, don't get me wrong, but just be respectful, because I know there's gonna be somebody in there that's just so negative, and I just keep that in mind, that people have feelings, and these are TV shows. Now let's move on to Walking Dead. When it comes to Walking Dead, it does have some of its flaws to where they killed Carl. They killed Andrea. Yeah, they did. Those characters easily could still be here. Carl just signed a contract for 3 more years. Andrea signed a contract to be in the first 7 or 8 seasons. So neither of them were actually meant to die. That's why I hate those 2 decisions. But then again, Carl's actually made sense. Andrea's place was sort of filled in a way, but they did not need to kill her at all. It was kind of ridiculous. One of the biggest flaws of the show is because how awesome she was in the comics, they could still have her on the show to this day. She technically would have been dying in the next episode. She would have been dying in the episode that we're all waiting for right now. Some of the episodes at the Sanctuary were not the best, but I still did not find them boring. Some people do find The Cell boring. Some people do find Hostiles and Calamities boring. I personally didn't find them that boring. I personally found them sort of interesting because this is the villain and you're learning more about them. It's information that you need to know to where it makes sense. Yeah, they definitely could have combined some episodes of episode 7 or episode 2 and 3 they could have combined. Episode 5 and 6 they could have combined, which was Maggie and Tara's episodes. They definitely could have done that, and it would have probably been more interesting to most people. But they didn't do that, and I don't have a problem when I go back and rewatch it. It's the aftermath. There's not going to be a bunch of payoff anyways. No matter how they wrote it, there wouldn't have been a bunch of payoff because they weren't going to fight. They didn't want to fight. That's exactly how it was in the comics. And it makes sense. If they went and immediately fought, they would have lost. They didn't have anybody next to them. They didn't have the hilltop as soon as Negan killed them. They had to actually gather the hilltop, and they actually gather the Oceanside and the Kingdom and the Garbage People, even though the Garbage People still betrayed them, but still. What was I talking about? I don't remember what I was talking about. Anyways, so The Walking Dead does have its flaws. You can definitely admit to that. Some people definitely think that The Walking Dead is very flawed in season 7 and 8. Some people say that the cliffhanger is the worst decision ever for the show. Yeah, but when you look back at it now, or at least when I look back on it now, it wasn't too big of a deal. A lot of shows do big cliffhangers like this because that's just how television works. It's just how they get you to come back to the next season. Same with Jon Snow being stabbed to death. And then you come back to the next season and he's resurrected. Another one of my flaws for Game of Thrones is that they didn't do a lot of big major characters until the final season. Strictly my opinion. They did Ned Stark in the first season, then they did Catelyn and Robb in the third, and then they didn't really have many big, huge character deaths throughout the entire show. The Walking Dead had some huge characters that are really ballsy that you didn't expect. And And some people are saying that The Walking Dead does double deaths that are not good. That's, like they said that I've heard some people say season 7 had a lot of double deaths. Every season has had double deaths. Every single season of The Walking Dead has had double deaths. Game of Thrones has had double deaths as well, but The Walking Dead has had many, many. Season 9, in one episode we lost 11 characters. 11 characters. Season 8, we had Carl and Gavin in one episode. And then in Season 7, these are just a few examples, we had Glenn and Abraham. We had Richard and Benjamin. We had Spencer and Olivia. And then in Season 6, we had like 4 characters in one episode. We had Jesse, Ron, Sam, and the wolf guy, Owen. And then in Season 5, we had Gareth and Bob. We had Dawn and Beth. We had Noah and Aiden. We had Reg and Pete. Season 4, we had Herschel and the Governor. We had Lizzie and Mika. Like, there's so many double deaths. Lori and T-Dog. Amy and Ed. Jackie and Dr. Jenner. There's a lot of double deaths in the entire series. So I don't think that saying that double deaths are a flaw in any show, because Game of Thrones has done that. I'm sure every other show has done that. It's just, like, a thing. It happens a lot in TV shows. So, but yeah, this is pretty much the end of the video. If there's anything that I stated that was wrong, like if I stated a fact and it was wrong. Oh, there's actually one more thing I want to cover. If Game of Thrones did not have the budget it had, would it be as good? If Game of Thrones didn't have these episodes that were entirely battle, would it be as good in your opinion? Personally, for me, it might be better, because they kind of show off their budget, it feels like, when they had like episode 609 or 704, or like, I get that Walking Dead can't do these huge battles like Game of Thrones because they don't have that budget, but Game of Thrones, when like episode 609, it just felt like they were slashing at some points. And it kind of felt boring. Battles can easily get boring. The writers had said that with Game of Thrones themselves, and they tried to introduce stories in there, but they didn't do it very good, because episode 803 was kind of boring until the Night King was taken out, and then you were just irritated. But then again, this is all my opinion, so if there's anything that you disagree with, feel free to let me know, but just be respectful and don't be that guy that has to be banned. So, because I do have moderators now, and I know one of them's not afraid to do anything. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Huge shout out to those 6 people right there, because they are really helping out the channel. All 6 of them are awesome, and I will see you guys next time.